When should I make a power of attorney for property? So I made one probably younger than most people because I was a lawyer fairly young and kind of familiar with all of this area of law, but I'm pretty sure the average age of making a power of attorney for property really skews a lot older than it should. So a power of attorney for property can be made when someone is 18 years of age or older, at least in Ontario. And the person has to be mentally capable at the time they make it. But when should you actually go ahead and do it? Just because someone turns 18 doesn't mean they're going to, and they might not feel really motivated. So, one really, really important thing to keep in mind is there is no default person that can manage our money for us if we lose capacity. Not a parent, not a spouse. There is nothing in Ontario that automatically gives a legal authority to someone else. So if something happened to me, if I don't have a power of attorney for property, no one is allowed to touch my bank account unless they have legal authority. So one really important consideration of when to make a power of attorney for property is, when does somebody actually have some property that would need to be managed? Money in a bank account, bills to pay, anything, any kind of property that's under their name, particularly if it would need to be managed. And if they could not do so themselves, that it would create problems, that would be a time to make a power of attorney. So a lot of young people, when they turn 18, maybe they don't have anything, but maybe they've have some savings, they've had a job, they have received an inheritance, or they have education savings. Whatever the case may be, they may have some money under their name potentially, where somebody would need to access it for them or pay for things. So age 18 is the minimum, but that would be what trigger number one to think about, is when somebody actually has some property that would potentially need to be managed, or they anticipate coming into property, because it would be very, very complicated if someone were to lose capacity. Let's say someone has an illness and they know based on the progression of the illness that they are likely to become incapable in the future. We know this can happen with dementia, with some mental illnesses. It can even happen with diseases like cancer, as people are heavily medicated or lose their cognitive ability. So if somebody knows they're likely to lose capacity in the future, that would be time to say, I should really get this document done now before I lose capacity, because it literally might be too late to do a valid document. So that would be a very important consideration. So when somebody comes into property, or if they're anticipating losing capacity. But of course, any of us could become incapable at any time. Things happen, life happens, it's unpredictable. So my strong suggestion to everybody is to consider doing a power of attorney for property much sooner rather than later, so that everyone is prepared for the future, because the consequence of not doing so can be quite significant. And we do a fair bit of guardianship work here at Lisa Feldstein Law Office. And often when I do that work, in many cases, it kind of feels like a shame that we have to do it, because if there had been a power of attorney for property, the entire guardianship file would have been avoidable. The family would have avoided the stress, the delay, the gap of time when no one was able to manage money, and it created a bit of a crisis in some cases, because they're not able to access funds and pay for things and find out all the things they need to manage a person's life for them. So it really can put the family in a really challenging situation, being unable to properly care for their loved one or reaching into their own pockets, and just added stress to what's already usually a stressful situation. So it can really, if not for yourself, doing so for your family, to make sure that if you were to lose capacity, that your family doesn't need to go through the guardianship process, can be quite a motivating factor. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned something new, and I will see you in the next one.